Encased is a sci-fi post-apocalyptic role-playing game from Dark Crystal Games. Recently it's become available to play in early access, so I thought I might take a look at it. And so far I've played through the majority of what's available in the current patch, and I think it has a lot of potential, so let me show you why. It's said that in the 1970s a mysterious dome was discovered, and upon exploring it, vast technological improvements became possible. The C.R.O.N.U.S Corporation was founded to manage the dome's research, and the game begins with you becoming a recent employee of them and being sent into the dome, and this is where the character creation begins. If you've played Fallout, Wasteland or Atom before, you should be really comfortable making your character, as it is a very similar system. You have your attributes, secondary stats, resistances and skills, and you can tag 3 skills to get a bonus in them. The unique part about creating a character in Encased is unlike Fallout with its perks and traits, you instead acquire abilities. Each skill has its own abilities, and as you level up the skill you gain access to more. The abilities for combat skills will give you new ways to harm your enemies and apply debuffs to them, while science has you learn how to hack or gain more experience. All of the skills are pretty straightforward, however not all of them are yet implemented into the game, as well as some of the abilities. The other unique thing about creating a character is picking their wing, which essentially decides their backstory and their role in the dome, although it's more of an archetype suggestion than an actual class, as you can change your stats no matter what you pick. Orange Wing are criminals sent to the dome for a second chance. Realistically though, they serve most of the basic labour roles. Given the poor conditions and being in a new land, Orange Wing members tend to reform criminal elements once inside. White Wing consists of scientists working to uncover the dome's secrets. The Blue Wing consists of builders and engineers. The Silver Wing consists of team leaders and managers. And the Black Wing is the dome's authoritative security force. Now the prologue is the same regardless of who you pick. However, the wing that you play as can significantly alter your experience. If you play as an Orange Wing, it's a lot easier to gain the trust of your fellow criminals, while if you're a Black Wing security member, it's almost impossible to talk to someone in the Orange Wing. It also has a significant effect to what you can say in dialogue, so your job and relationship with other factions can contribute to different outcomes. Now onto the gameplay. Like I said at the start of this video, if you've played any other isometric RPG before, this should be pretty easy to handle. At the bottom of the screen you've got your equipped weapons, their attack types, and your action bar. You interact with the world by left clicking, and right clicking brings up other options. And the combat is turn based using action points. And overall the combat is pretty straightforward. It's only really tough when you're outnumbered or using weapons you're not proficient with. There's also food and medicine which can heal and buff you. And on top of the food, you also need to drink and rest to make sure you don't randomly drop dead. And at the beginning in Magellan Station, that is easily manageable, as there's food and drink vendors everywhere. However, stepping out into the desert unprepared can lead to a slow and hungry death, as food sources out there are quite limited. Fortunately for you, the early access current version takes mostly in place at Magellan Station, which serves as a big tutorial as well as a prologue. Here you'll learn how to scan items gathering research information for the C.R.O.N.U.S Corporation, as well as avoiding anomalies and gathering relics. And yes, you do throw bolts into the anomalies. Once you learn the basics, there's a lot of shenanigans to get up to at Magellan Station. Each wing has jobs to be done, and given you're the protagonist, you get to do their errands. And so far, this is the best part of the game. It's really the selling point for the current early access version. Most of my time with the game was spent intervening in interfactional politics and solving people's petty squabbles. And it's a lot of fun trying to resolve the same issues from perspectives of different wing members, or with different skills. The game does a good job at portraying the upstanding citizen and conniving criminal both as genuine and fun experiences. And it makes me confident that when the game is released, there will be multiple ways to enjoy the game. The developers say there's around 10 hours of gameplay to the current version, and that happens to be the amount I played too. I tried most of the wings, tried different skills, and completed what there is of a story twice. And while you could technically complete what there is of the version in even 2 hours, you definitely miss the most important stuff, which is, as I said, all the fun side quests back at Magellan Station. The characters and the dialogue really does a great job to make a fun and interactive world, with honestly so little. So I guess that brings me to the question, should you buy Encased? And honestly, the answer depends on what you want and expect from the game. If you're wanting a finished product now, then the game currently isn't for you. According to Steam, the game will approximately still be in early access for 9 months. During its early access phase, there is another 3 main patches that are planned, and then the game's release. And a lot can happen during that time. So if you're not wanting to buy it right now, fair enough, I'd say maybe check back in a few months and see how the game's developing. You're not really missing out on much by waiting. But if you're like me, someone who is often overly optimistic, you might end up buying it just because you like RPGs. And that the project should be in good hands given that its members have worked on Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, as well as the Age of Decadence, which is honestly one of my most favourite games of all time. The other thing to be discussed if you're considering buying the game is the amount of bugs. From glitchy ragdolls and typos, to crashes and softlocks, there is a lot of bugs in this game, which is a given. The game is in early access, and it is here for you to help get rid of these issues. But I always feel the need to clarify that the game is not yet a polished experience. Another thing to be discussed is the game's visuals. It's simple and colourful, but I'm a fan of it. Things like the barter, inventory and dialogue screens are actually presented a lot better than some other games. The game's got a strong UI and an actually useful map, so you always know where you're going and interacting with. So while a lot isn't yet implemented like driving or leadership as skills, as well as more places to explore and companions which are intended to be added. Despite this stuff not yet being there, everything that is currently in the game, which is a fraction of being finished, makes for an extremely strong base of a potentially great role-playing game. And while 9 months more of early access seems like a lot of time, I hope that this small indie dev team isn't too overly ambitious with their project, because nothing would be worse than the game coming out and feeling unfinished or rushed. They've finished the majority of the first act, where you go to Nashville base and investigate some anomalous activities, and they did a great job with it. You set out into a mysterious and threatening alien environment, and you end up learning a lot more about the game's world. And it has me eagerly looking forward to how the story will develop, and the role you play in it. And then the game ends after your exploration at Nashville, so this maybe wasn't the most extensive review given the game is in early access, but I am looking forward to it, and I thought it would be fun to give it some attention as well as discuss it. Let me know what you think about the game, and I'm looking forward to coming back to the game when it's released next year. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my free patrons. We tripled since last video, which was all those months ago.